into today at Keeneland for this Friday, July 10th, and this is when it starts to get interesting. We have two fantastic stakes races on the line here this afternoon on tap, highlighted by the Grade 1 Maker's Mark Mile, one of the most important mile races each and every year, normally in the spring. But here we are at the summer meet at Keeneland. Scott Hazelton alongside Gabby Gaudette. And one of the storylines in that race, Gabby, is Chad Brown sitting on a pretty significant milestone if he's to come away with the win in the Maker's Mark Mile.
Yeah, talking about that milestone in particular, he is one win away from 100 Grade 1 victories in his career thus far. And Scott, 12 of those Grade 1s have come at Keeneland. He's got a duo, a very potent duo in the Grade 1 Maker's Mark Mile, but he also has charges in both the Jenny Wiley and in the Madison tomorrow afternoon. So there's a very, very good shot that he's going to hit that milestone here at Keeneland this weekend. A
place he's had, as you pointed out, a lot of success, a place that he loves coming to, but unfortunately unable to travel down here to Kentucky under the circumstances. But we wish him the best, and certainly a lot of folks that are playing at home and watching Keeneland at home, as you are right now, will be playing either of those two horses because they will be the two favorites, Without Parole and Raging Bull. We'll talk more about that Grade 1 feature in just a minute, as well as the co-feature, the Beaumont, for the 3-year-old fillies. There is a key scratch in their speech. She'll be focusing her attention on the Grade 1 Central Bank Ashland tomorrow. But before we dive into today, let's take you back to yesterday in case you missed any of the action. We saw some interesting weather, to say the least. It was hot, then it was rainy, then it dried out, and the sun came out late in the day. We got a bit of everything out here in central Kentucky. But the one thing that we did get, that we always get here at Keeneland, is first-class racing.
Absolutely, and we had some really tight, exciting finishes like this one in particular, and like the feature. We saw Dos Vinos take the feature, but also a really impressive closing run from Club Car. That was a look at that race. I think we're going to be able to see these two fillies maybe compete against Stakes Company or Graded Stakes Company moving forward. I do think that they are that type of caliber. And we also saw Wesley Ward get a victory in a 2-year-old race with Fauci, who looks like a very promising horse as well, Scott.
And Kenny McPeak had a successful day. He had 2 wins on the card. Both of those winners guided by Brian Hernandez Jr. All right, weather. Let's check in with WKYT.
Meteorologist Adam Burson here in the Weather Center. We are looking at another warm and steamy Keeneland day out there at the track. We could see track conditions, though, become a little sloppy through this afternoon and evening because we'll be tracking a few scattered showers and thunderstorm chances that do move through. Otherwise, those temperatures remaining in the upper 80s. Have a good day.
Okay, so more the same when it comes to the weather. Steamy, some rain, and hopefully we'll get through this without a significant amount of rain when it comes to the weather here on this Friday. Let's dive into our picks for the entire card. This presented by TVG. And once again, very little alignment when it comes to at least first selections from Gabby and myself. There's only one. That comes in race number 6, which starts the late pick 4.
Well, yeah, looking at the lineup here, it does look like we at least agree on the second race with the number 2 horse moving forward to the 6th race, which is a very nice allowance race. We also agree on that race, and that does kick off the late pick 4 sequence. We agree on Candy Cornell. And then we're pretty much in agreement in the Maker's Mark Mile. In your opinion and in my opinion, it's either going to go to Without Parole or Raging Bull.
Again, the full card selections presented by TVG. You can catch Keeneland each and every day, not just the summer meet, but every meet here at Keeneland Racecourse. Let's now talk about social media, as you can give us a follow on Twitter at Keeneland Racing, on Facebook at Keeneland, same with Instagram at Keeneland, and you can also follow TVG at TVG2 Network. Don't forget about downloading the Watch TVG app. That is for your smart TV device, Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV. Download that Watch TVG app. It is free, and you'll be able to catch both networks in HD as well as on-demand content. It just continues to get better and better. Check out Watch TVG right now, again, on your favorite smart TV connected device. It is time now to talk about the Grade 1 Maker's Mark Mile, and we have discussed this, Gabby. We will mention it at least 2 more times here this afternoon. This is the rematch that we hope that we would see following the Grade 1 Shoemaker Mile at Santa Anita.
Absolutely, especially because some of the horses in there did get bad trips. Raging Bull was not one of them. He got a beautiful setup, closing from off of the pace. But, you know, Scott, he just might be that good. He might be freaky good, and he very well could get the victory once again today. But we'll dive into it a little bit more. Without Parole, War of Will, Next Shares, all of those horses didn't have easy trips last time out in the Shoemaker Mile.
I went back and forth between Raging Bull as well as Without Parole, and here's the look at that race. There's Raging Bull as he swings wide. That's his style. That's what he likes to do. Look at the white cap down on the rail right now, sitting fourth. That's Without Parole. He just doesn't find that gap to work with, but once he does, it's too late, but he puts in a nice late run. That's what everybody talked about when it came down to the recap of this race. If he would have gotten that room to work with, would it have been a different story? I ultimately went with Raging Bull. I thought that we would see more rain here today. As of right now, we don't have it, and I think if the rain does come, it lends itself more to Raging Bull, the offspring of Frankel. Frankel was so good, and that, speaking of Without Parole, he was so good when the turf was fast over in the UK, and I think that that may downgrade his chances just a little bit today if we do get moisture. I truly do think that they are very much on even par because Chad Brown has really turned this horse around. Tanya Gunther of the daughter and father team of John and Tanya Gunther said to me the reason why this horse has really come to life since coming over from one of the top yards in the world in John Gosden over to Chad Brown. He just appreciates more of the action in the morning. It's so laid back over in Europe. They have those long gallops in Newmarket. It's wide open space. He likes the action. He likes to be amongst all the training, so that's why there's been that turnaround. And then Next Shares, to me, I've just fallen in love with this horse. I had a pretty significant score with him when he won a couple of years back for Richie Baltus in the Shadwell Turf Mile Grade 1 event. He's a horse that just continues to show up. You can't sleep on him as he returns to a racetrack that he really loves. So pretty straightforward for me when it comes to the Maker's Mark Mile 4-8-9, led by Raging Bull.
All right, well, I'm going to take you back to the Shoemaker Mile once again and talk about my top selection, and that's the number one in this race, Without Parole. This horse just had an absolutely brutal trip, just buried down on the inside, couldn't find any room to run under jockey Irad Ortiz. And then once he finally got in the clear, he accelerated so impressively. You could see that he just couldn't kind of match the strides with Next Shares because he didn't have the opportunity to get room to run until the very, very late stages of the race. If he did, Scott, I think he would be on a level playing field with Raging Bull. On top of that, he was closer to the pace last time out, and it was a brutally fast pace. We saw War of Will was part of that pace as well. I don't think it's going to be that quick early as it was last time out, but all that, taking all of that in, the entire trip from start to finish Without Parole, I think he ran a heck of a race. So I'm going in that direction today. I do respect Raging Bull. I don't necessarily think he's pace dependent. I think he's going to be able to work out his own trip, but this might level the playing field between these two horses. And then War of Will, I'm going to give him another shot as well. He was sharp, and even Mark told me going into his last race, he was very sharp in his training in the morning. I don't think he needs to be on the lead or be forwardly placed. He had the blinkers on last time out. He kept the blinkers on, I should say. It was off of a layoff. He was part of that really fast pace. Today, I think he should be able to relax and rate a little bit more. And it's important to the connections, obviously, to try to get that elusive Grade 1 win, or Grade 1 wins, plural, on both the dirt and the turf. That just takes him to another level in terms of his value as a stallion, Scott.
Yeah, and this is how good this race is. And again, it is this good each and every year, but this is how good it is in 2020, that you've got a Preakness Stakes winner who's sitting about third choice in the wagering here, and I think kind of will be forgotten a bit off of what you talked about, a sharp performance, that the numbers are there, the speed figures are there, and we'll hopefully see him move forward today in that Grade 1 Maker's Mark Mile. It is going to be a fantastic Grade 1 renewal of this classic race each and every year here at Keeneland Racecourse. All right, the co-feature is one race prior. These races part of the late pick four. Here's the scratch that I mentioned in the Beaumont Stakes presented by Keeneland Select in this Grade 3 event. It's Speech. She'll be running tomorrow in the Grade 1 Central Bank Ashland. But this race, to me, goes through Wicked Whisper. I think that this filly, the Keeneland graduate from 2018, that the Leblongs paid $500,000 for right here behind us in the Keeneland Sales Pavilion, is going to be even better than she was last year, because we saw Liam's Map. He had such a good first crop, which was led by Wicked Whisper and Basin, who we'll see run in the Toyota Bluegrass tomorrow. But Liam's Map really wasn't a precocious 2-year-old. He got better as he got older, and I think we will see that with these horses. And I think getting back to a one-turn scenario is going to be perfect for her, because let's go back to her Grade 1 success at Belmont Park when she went a mile. She set the pace, and she just simply drew off from them. She has the blend of speed and then acceleration late, because right here, she starts to open up on them, and she beats the filly. The filly that ends up finishing second in here is Frank's Rocket, who just won the victory ride last week at Belmont Park. That is a very good filly. She's one of the top female sprinters in America, and Wicked Whisper just absolutely toyed with her. Now, she didn't take to Santa Anita. A lot of horses didn't that afternoon, and we saw horses out of that race come back. Bast, who's now been retired, she picked up another Grade 1 victory for her connections out in Southern California. But that was a deep, tiring racetrack at Santa Anita at that point in time in the beginning of November. I think Wicked Whisper will be ready to go, and the workouts suggest it. And also, you've got to take a look at Four Graces. I think that she's very live, as well as the number 5 horse in here, Sconson. She'll be the one, Gabby, that's running on late, the number 5 horse with Jimmy Graham.
Exactly. I think the speed is going to come from your 2 likely favorites in here with the scratch of the 2 Speech. It's going to go to the 3 Four Graces or the 4 Wicked Whisper, and at least Wicked Whisper has the advantage of being posted to her outside. I still like Four Graces best. I think this is a filly that just continues to improve each and every start. Last time out in the Grade 3 Dogwood, if you look on your form, it looks like she just went gate to wire and won the race easily. There's so much to the story of her performance in the Grade 3 Dogwood. There were 5 horses vying for the lead, Scott. She was down on the rail on the inside, 4 horses stacked to her outside, and she shook all of them off and still kicked clear late under Julien Leparoux. And she also held off the late challenge from Edgeway, who finished second but is a legitimate filly. So I think she is really good, and she's got recency. That just might give her the edge over the 4 Wicked Whisper, who has to get the 7 furlongs off of that really long layoff, since we haven't seen her since the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. She also has a really nice pedigree, as she is a half to McCracken. The mare has done tremendous things for these connections. I'm sure it was really nice to get a graded stakes victory with this particular filly, and she very well could get another one today. She is a half to Whitmore. Wicked Whisper is a half to Point of Honor, who just finished second in the Ogden Fib. So there are some really nice pedigrees and some very special fillies in this race. And for actually, Scott, we should mention that this is going to be a Kentucky Oaks points race this year.
It most certainly is. So important, doubly important when it comes to this event here today. Let's find out more about Four Graces by way of Tom Leach.
We're going to visit with trainer Ian Wilkes about the 2 fillies that he has coming up in the Beaumont, presented by Keeneland Select on the Friday card. Ian, let's talk about Four Graces first. Pretty impressive in those last 2 races. What is it that caught your eye or impressed you most?
Talent. She's got a lot of talent, this filly, you know, and she's just got better and better. So she has to, because the water's getting deeper.
7 furlongs, her best distance, you think?
I think so. 1 turn. Anything 1 turn will be fine.
Anything that's noticeably different or better about her from last year to this year?
Well, I didn't get to race last year. She only started this year, and she was just a late developer. And we got going this year, and she's done everything right, except for that one race where she displaced on me.
Tell me about the other filly, Turtle Tracks, that you have in the race.
She come back and ran a really nice race. It was a little deceptive. She got beat by Frank's Rocket, and it was a better race than what you think. You know, we got beat, I think, 3 lengths, but I thought it was a very good race, and she's trained very well since.
So sounds like you're expecting both of them to improve off their last races?
Yeah, I hated to run them against each other, but let's hope we can be 1-2.
referencing Turtle Tracks. That's the number 6 horse he's got in there. So Ian with a dual prong attack when it comes to the Grade 3 Beaumont. We'll talk more about that race in the late pick 4 discussion. But let's go to the early pick 4, part of our key race analysis, at least Gabby's. She'll start off with race number 2, which starts the early pick 4. This is a maiden special weight for fillies and mares 3 and up, going a mile and 3/16 on the turf.
Yeah, this is a very interesting race indeed. I thought that there was a lot going on in here. We do have 1 scratch of the, or 2 scratches, I should say, 3 scratches. I can't count today, Scott. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
The 1A, the 7, and the 9. And yeah, we have a lot going on in here. I gave a look to a couple of horses in here, one of them being the 4, More Good Times, one of them being the 8, Take Charge Patty as well. But at the end of the day, I did land on the 2, Fortuna, for trainer Graham Motion. I think she's well posted to the inside, and I at least like that she possesses a little bit of speed. In these longer distance turf races, a mile and 3/16, I want a type of horse that will be forwardly placed. And we saw that in her last race at Belmont Park on the 19th of June. This is taking a look at this race. She was 28-1 in this one, and she was beaten by the favorite in Keeneland Bond. But I don't think that this race was any bit of a fluke. I think she just wanted distance. This particular race was going a mile and a quarter. She just couldn't keep up with anybody going the mile or 5.5 furlongs in her first 2 starts as a two-year-old. But Graham Motion finally getting the ability to stretch her out to a distance of ground last time out, and she ran really well. You see Wattez in the running lines when she was 2. Wattez would come back to compete in the Grade 3 Regret. So we're talking about graded stakes caliber fillies that this horse went against last year. So I think onwards and upwards for the 2, Fortuna. She's going to be the top pick.
I think she's got a big look in there as well. I'm going to keep things going in this early pick 4 and focus my key race analysis on race number 3. And this race, no scratches, but a field of 8. And to the outside is where I start with the number 8 horse. Breaking news, the Keeneland graduate from 2017. I just think that he gets a good setup here today, and that's going to be a difference maker when it comes to 6.5 furlongs. As we roll back May 23rd, his race at Churchill Downs. This is race number 6. There you can see him in the blue cap. He got pace to run at this day, and he ends up coming up a length short. He was a big price on this afternoon. He went off at odds of 15-1 with Joe Talamo in the saddle. Talamo not riding this colt here today. Instead, Ron Marquette gets Joel Rosario. But if you get this kind of finish and setup that he, I think, will get with horses like Wild Poppet and Hero's Reward in here and the speed down to the inside, I think that he's going to be very dangerous late. Gozilla, you have to respect him with the speed that he's going to show from the inside post. And then Wild Poppet, when he's right, he's as good as any of these horses in here. If you want to play a long shot today, consider Wild Poppet. Randy Morris had a big-time run yesterday from a horse that he brought off of a layoff. This horse has serious talent, so don't sleep on Wild Poppet there in race number 3. Another very good allowance race. We're getting some rain. Am I hearing rain?
We are.
Yeah.
What's new?
A little bit of rain. All right. It is time now for the Clocker Report, and we'll stay to start with race number 3. And the Clocker Report's focusing in on Gozilla, the number 1 horse, who's the 9-5 morning line favorite in there. Worked 5/8 in 59. You always look at the work 2 back on the Asmussen horses. That is the work that tells, and if that is telling here today, he's going to be tough in this spot. Training beautifully locally, and the class of the field, the colt by Flatter, and then go all the way to the nightcap. Race number 9, the number 5 horse, Dive Deep, worked a half a mile. That was the best of 35 just back on the 9th of June, a month ago. Strong local workouts. Trainer is 27% when debuting in a maiden claimer. So race number 3, the 1. Race number 9, the 5, the focus of the Clocker Report. All right, we'll move away from the early portion of the card as we do in this portion of today at Keeneland, and now focus our attention on the late pick 4. And Gabby, we need to hit one of these things. I mean, I don't know that have we? Has anybody? Have you kept track?
I'm sure somebody has,
well,
but neither of us.
Caton had a couple at the end of last meet.
Well, because she's the best.
She was filling in for you because you were moonlighting out at the Breeders' Cup at Santa Anita. So maybe we should get Caton's picks because I just saw her wandering around.
We're going to get Caton's picks, but I actually do feel pretty confidently about my late pick 4 today. I feel very confidently that I'm going to get through the 6th race because I hit the all button.
Yeah.
I know it's a little bit of a cop-out here, but the more I looked at this race, the more I thought that anybody could win. Now, I do prefer the 8, Candy Cornell. He's got speed to the outside, but you look at any horse in here, even Super Sol coming off of a long layoff for Steve Asmussen. The 5, Zip On By, is capable of running a 91 Beyer speed figure. Much better. The 4, I think, is better at 6 furlongs than a little bit further at 6.5 furlongs, so he cuts back in distance, second off the layoff. There's so much going on in this race. Even the 2, Complexifier, I thought had a shot for Brian Lynch. So taking the easy way out in the 6th race, but you know what follows is a single, and I single on the 3, 4 Graces. I really think she's legitimate. I think she can probably take pressure from the 4, Wicked Whisper, and still kick on clear. She's an improving type of filly, and she clearly is in good form. So the Ian Wilkes trainee, that's going to be my single, the 3, 4 Graces in the Grade 3 Beaumont. As we get to the Maker's Mark Mile, just using the Chad Brown duo. If funds could afford it, I probably would throw in, all of the horses in the Shoemaker Mile, but I really do think that he's got the field cornered with both of these, with the 4, Raging Bull, and the 8, Without Parole. And then finally, we get to the final leg of the sequence, which is a maiden claiming event, 6 furlongs on the main track. Using coverage, but, not going crazy there in the final race with the 4, 5, 6, and the 10 for a $36 play.
Our holiday dinner is going to be awkward because you didn't use War of Will. I'm looking at you, lady. Is there any worry there?
Yes, there is. There's definitely a fear. But I just think, Chad has Raging Bull, who'll be closing, and then Without Parole, who'll be forwardly placed, and I think they're the class of the field. So I feel good with those 2, but it could bite me later.
In a couple of different ways. But that's the thing about handicapping. You got to leave feelings aside. There shouldn't be hard feelings when handicapping these races.
Normally not what you do, though. You definitely are a sentimental handicapper.
I listen, when you get to be my age, Gabby, you'll understand. Race number 6, I'll go 4 deep.
Got
4,
a long way to go.
6, you do 4, 6, 7, and 8. Much better for Steve Asmussen, a horse that I think will improve with that race under his belt, coming second off of a fairly decent layoff and cutting back in distance. You've got the number 6 in there, Super Soul. I think another one that coming off the year layoff, the workout suggests that he should be good to go. Al Mithmar for Phil D'Amato. I think the cutback is significant for him. And then Candy Cornell for Robertino Diodoro. I think that's the first Diodoro runner we've seen this meet, and it's tough to ignore anything that he sends out anywhere. He just absolutely crushes whenever he shows up, especially down at Oaklawn Park. As far as the Beaumont is concerned, I'll just use 4 Graces and Wicked Whisper. That's pretty straightforward. The Maker's Mark Mile, I think I'm going to be good if I ever get invited to a Cassie family dinner, because I do have War of Will on my ticket along with Next Shares, so looking for some coverage there. And then in race number 9, the 4, the 6, and the 10, major attraction for Wayne Catalano. All he has to do is run back to his most recent start. Backshot will be tough on the drop down in class for Peter Miller. And then the 10-horse Baby White Sox for Tom Drury Jr., another one that I think just running back to that most recent race will be tough in that spot. So a good sequence, 2 stakes races highlighted by the Grade 1 Maker's Mark Mile. Make sure you get involved in that late pick 4, which starts with race number 6. It's time now for our best angle segment, and we go back to the beginning of the card. Race number 3, Gabby, what do you got for us?
All right, I like this race a lot. I respect the 9-5 favorite in Godzilla, but I also think he's going to be challenged to his outside. 6.5 furlongs, there's got to be someone that will run with him. So that could make him a little bit vulnerable, considering we haven't seen him since October of last year. Got to be really fit off the layoff. I like the 4 Wild Poppet, a horse that you mentioned. He's going to be the top selection, price play of the day. This horse is capable of better. His last couple of races, he really hasn't shown up. I thought he started to kind of fall apart as the distances got longer, but now he finally cuts back to the 6.5 furlongs right in his wheelhouse. We'll take you to his maiden special weight victory back at Oaklawn. This was on March the 21st. He closed from off of the pace, but he doesn't necessarily need to be put in a position like that. He's got natural speed, as he showed off of the layoff and the start prior to this, that he can sit close to the pace. So he's not necessarily pace dependent. I think he'll win and he'll run well wherever Rafael Bejarano decides to put him here today. It looks like a fast pace. I think he's probably going to be sitting mid-pack or just off of that fast pace and hopefully get the win. So that's kind of the price play there in the third race with the 4 Wild Poppet.
He beat a nice horse there too, Edgemont Road, and just prior to that he was DQ'd, and it was a legitimate disqualification where he ran huge. So yeah, he has serious talent as Wild Poppet. Race number 4 is where I'm going to take you for my best angle. This is a 2-year-old maiden race on the turf course for the fillies. You can see a couple of scratches. The outside horse is the 9 Touch of Class. But the 8 Yogurt is the filly that I will lean on, and the fact that she's got a couple of races under her belt. That's been the theme of these 2-year-old races here during this summer meet at Keeneland, is having runs under your belt. That's been the key with these 2-year-old races. And this filly, we take you back to her most recent start on the 26th of June. She carved out part of the pace early on. She drifts a little bit. This was her second start. This was a fairly quickly run race for a group of 2-year-old fillies. But the key for her today is moving over to the grass. She is a sibling to 2 turf winners. The mare has been productive, the Cat Thief mare, Caddy Berry. She's produced 3 winners from her 4 runners. This is a filly that they bought for a bargain price here at Keeneland, September of 2019, just $1,300, and clearly she's made much more than that for them. She's made over $23,000, but Yogurt, to me, is the filly to beat, and my angle, my play, is keying her on top in an exacta with the 3 Guana K for Wesley Ward, who will get played and should, and then the 13 who draws in off the also eligible horse that we see Corey Lannery stick with, another one that has runs under her belt, the daughter of Street Boss, who gets back to turf for the second time in her career. So an exacta there, 8 over 3 and the 13. Let's get to Tom Leach's pick of the day. He'll move right on to race number 5 in that 3 other than allowance race at 1 mile and a 16th on the main track. And he likes the number 4 horse at 8-1 for Bayou Bengal Racing Stable and Tom Amos, Jimmy Graham in the saddle. And this horse, 8-1, an early speed horse in a race lacking pace. He's in peak form and come first or second in half of his starts. And he comes into this race off of a victory. And if the race does come up, or the racetrack rather comes up wet, he does have a wet track victory. So 8-1. Make sure you consider Treasure Trove in race number 5, Tom Leach's pick of the day. All right, we come to a big day, Gabby. Bottom line, and it's only going to get bigger, as big as Maker's Mark Mile is each and every year. How about tomorrow? Toyota Bluegrass Day, Central Bank Ashland, Madison. It's going to be enormous. You've got no time to say anything. I apologize, Gabby. For Gabby, I'm Scott. Make sure you stick around for Keeneland at Home, presented by Central Bank. Christina Blacker will be hosting that at 15 past the hour on all of our social media outlets.
When it comes to hybrid technology, nobody has more models to choose from than Toyota. From the Prius, the hybrid that started it all, to America's best-selling car, Camry, and best-selling SUV, RAV4, to the first-ever Corolla Hybrid, and the new best-in-class Highlander Hybrid. They all come with a new 10-year, 150,000-mile battery warranty. For all Toyota offers, see your Toyota dealer or go to buyatoyota.com. Today, tomorrow, Toyota.
In the 1950s, the very first case of Maker's Mark was served at Keeneland Racetrack. The proceeds have always gone to non-profit charitable organizations.
$50,000 from the proceeds of the bottle will go to the PDJF.
To help with the jockeys to pay the bills.
PDJF steps in, helps them with everything they need.
Thanks Keeneland and Maker's Mark for the contributions from the Battle House.
Thank Maker's Mark and Keeneland for being a big part of that. They've done so much for us.
It's not easy crafting the distinctive full-flavor taste of Maker's Mark. Getting all our water from our very own limestone filtered lake. Getting red winter wheat instead of the usual rye from this one family farm. And aging to taste by constantly sipping bourbon. Wait, all this sounds pretty nice actually. No wonder we've been doing it this way for so long.
The following is a presentation of the Keeneland Association.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Keeneland Racecourse. At this time, we ask that you would please rise in tribute to our national anthem. At this time, Keeneland is pleased to recognize Donna Mayer from